What's up guys, welcome to episode 6 of The Punk. Truth be told, this is actually the second time I've tried to make this video. The last time I put it on YouTube and WWE didn't like it, so they removed it. Sad. So the new format that I was hoping that would work obviously won't. In all fairness, I was taking stuff off of the net and just putting it into my videos, so I guess, you know, it's fair game really. But so you'll have to just put up with me just talking to you guys for the next 10 minutes, and you know, I'll try and find some ways to make the show a little bit more exciting going forward. But obviously putting footage in isn't going to be one of those ways going forward, so sorry about that guys. So I actually recorded the last one on Sunday. Having to redo it now, so we're going to recap the last week of WWE leading into Extreme Rules, and you know, for those of you who are a little bit, you know, you feel like WWE never really get you excited for a pay-per-view, it was the same case last week. Raw and SmackDown were just used as advertisements for Extreme Rules really. There were a couple of good matches, there were a couple of segments that hyped the show, but overall it just wasn't good enough. Really, WWE are good at hyping their big shows like WrestleMania and SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and, you know, to a small extent the Royal Rumble, but these other B shows, they just don't get the same kind of treatment. So on Raw we had a couple of matches and a final segment between Brock Lesnar and Triple H. The final segment was actually one of the highlights of the show, but that was about it really. A few matches on there that were pointless. I mean, you had primetime players going over the team of Tenzai and Brodus Clay. It was a needless, pointless match. It served no purpose. You know, what Raw does is it's more filler and a few little bits of you know, important information, and you know, it just wasn't very good. You know, if you've got a main show, I mean, Extreme Rules last year was considered to be on the verge of breaking into the WWE's big four pay-per-views. I don't know why. You know, Extreme Rules is hardly extreme, and it's, you know, but last year it was because of Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and this year it was because of Brock Lesnar and Triple H. So, you know, that was obviously one of the reasons why they were heavily promoting that match. Other matches on the show, we saw the triumphant return of The Miz, who defeated Heath Slater. I nearly said Heath Ledger there, sorry mate. Yeah, I mean, Miz, boring, horrible, boring face. He's a natural heel. He talks more than he wrestles. He is just a horrible character and he has no direction, but then again, the same could be said for quite a lot of the current crop of mid to upper card stars in the WWE, so that's another thing that they need to sort out. But the real problem on Raw was the Shield versus John Cena and Team Hell No in an elimination 6-man tag team match. So the whole basis of that is when you're pinned, you go to the back. You know, leaving the rest of the team to fend for themselves. So it went where Kane was eliminated, Daniel Bryan was eliminated, leaving John Cena against the Shield. And what did you think happened? Yeah, John Cena beat 2 members, was about to beat the 3rd, and they rushed in and caused the DQ win for Cena and his team. So saving the Shield from obviously getting pinned and defeated and submitted. But it really reminded me of Cena versus the Nexus a couple of years ago, and you know, why? I mean, the Shield are being booked superbly at the moment, and that was a real blot on their resume so far, and hopefully we'll be able to move on past that. It's just another sign that really, you know, John Cena can't, you know, WWE just cannot have John Cena lose clean ever. And it's so frustrating, but, you know, moving on. So as I said, the final segment between Brock Lesnar and Triple H was fairly interesting. They, you know, obviously had a little bit of a brawl to end with Brock Lesnar being thrown out of the cage. So it kind of left things a little bit open-ended for their fight at Extreme Rules. So that should be interesting to see what happens there. Moving into SmackDown, SmackDown for the last few weeks had been actually better than Raw. Wasn't the case this week. It was pretty much on the level with the Monday night show. A lot more advertising, a lot more Raw recaps. In fact, if anything, we actually saw the complete Triple H Brock Lesnar segment from Raw replayed on SmackDown, which is just a horrible, horrible waste of the show's 2-hour run. That's something that should be relegated to bottom line or afterburner, whatever it is. We don't need to see it. We don't want to see it. We should just have matches instead. But what am I going to do? They won't hire me. They should, but they won't. So we've got a couple of good matches on the show anyway. We got Antonio Cesaro versus Chris Jericho, and that was actually a quality match. Obviously, Chris Jericho went over. There was a little bit of a tease with Fandango, but Cesaro, people say he's boring. Well, not most people actually, just WWE for some reason. He's a quality wrestler, and if the mid card can be given a few good feuds over some of the titles, well, maybe not just over the titles, maybe just decent mid card feuds. It's an area that WWE really need to sort out quick, because TNA, they've got a decent mid card, Ring of Honor, decent mid card, WWE, fuck all, absolutely nothing. It's just, the shows just consist of a few upper card talents squashing lower card talent and a few divas matches and segments, and it doesn't make for good showing anymore. And I think a lot of fans, including myself, getting a bit sick of it now. So, so as I said, decent match between Cesaro and Jericho. And what SmackDown also served to do was to actually try and raise anticipation for a few of the other matches on Extreme Rules. So we had Sheamus, Mark Henry, Randy Orton and Big Show, and Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger, and they all met in a six-man tag team match. Six-man tag team matches seem to be the big thing in WWE at the moment, and of course making that match, good old Teddy Long, yeah. That was as to be expected. I thought it was quite an uneventful match, really. A lot of the action seemed to lull in the middle, and it only really got exciting towards the end. But what can you do? We can't really change anything there. So you saw the faces go over in that match, and that obviously led us into Extreme Rules. So all in all, a really forgettable week for WWE. Just trying to hype their Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and the amount of plugs as well for the WWE app was astounding on Raw. They're really pushing to try and get as many downloads and interaction through that app as possible, and I actually like that app. I think it's well designed. It's quite a fluid app, and the second screen is pretty cool if you're into that kind of thing. But don't shove it down our throats. Just don't do it. Every 3 minutes it was a plug for the app, and I'm not the only one that's annoyed with this. I mean, if anything, the WWE app could have trended on Twitter, because most people were just slamming it and saying, what the fuck, WWE, stop advertising it every fucking 5 seconds. But they're not going to stop, and let's hope that enough people download it to meet their quota and they can stop going on about it, I guess. So that's my 2 cents for the week. WWE app, stop it. Stop going on about it. It's good, just it's not that good. So that's the week in WWE, and obviously Extreme Rules did happen the other day, but I'll be recapping that in a separate video. So stay tuned for that one. Moving on into the UFC, we had UFC on FX. Vitor Belfort taking on Luke Rockhold for a kind of staking a claim for number one contenders for the middleweight championship, and obviously that's going to be decided in the next couple of months when Anderson Silva fights Chris Weidman. So you had 4 matches on the card, and the first 2 matches were pretty uneventful, went to decisions. The real talking point of those 2 fights was Rafael dos Anjos and Evan Dunham. Dunham looked to have done enough to have actually secured a win by decision, but the Brazilian judges, well, they weren't Brazilian, but it was in Brazil, they gave the decision to dos Anjos, and it was a bad call. That was a really, really bad call, that was. It wasn't even a split decision as well. Dos Anjos took a unanimous decision victory, and it didn't make any sense. But that's not that that affects the overall quality of the card. It was so card, but it was made all the more entertaining by the last two fights. And the last two fights, you had Chris Camozzi versus Jacare Souza, or Ronaldo Jacare Souza. Souza is a former Strikeforce middleweight champion. He was actually defeated by Luke Rockhold in controversial circumstances. And Jacare Souza is a beast. He is a jiu-jitsu black belt. He is pretty much on par with Anderson Silva in those qualities. And his ground passing skills, his guard passing is just unreal. Moving into side control, locked in an arm triangle, and Camozzi was out before he could even tap. So it was like, whoa. And it was quality, and he has a serious future as a contender in that division as well. The main event was Belfort versus Rockhold, and it didn't go to plan for Rockhold. I mean, he is a good fighter. I've seen some of his fights in Strikeforce. Solid striking. He's added striking to his wrestling base, but it didn't come into it. He threw a couple of leg kicks, and then all of a sudden, Belfort just turned around with a spinning heel kick, which we don't see every day from Belfort, and it laid him out. And it was probably one of the most spectacular knockouts I've seen, definitely this year, and for a long time. Probably the best one since Edson Barboza knocked out Terry Etin with the same move a couple of years ago. So all in all, a pretty entertaining final two fights on the UFC on FX card. This Saturday we have UFC 160, which is Cain Velasquez defending his heavyweight title against Bigfoot Silva. That's a rematch from their fight almost exactly to the day last year, where Velasquez literally murdered Bigfoot in probably one of the bloodiest matches I've seen in a long time. So those hoping for an upset there might be a little bit disappointed. I think Velasquez is on a different level, but we shall see. And it's UFC, it's not like WWE, you can't really predict things too well in a UFC, anything can happen, so that's why I like it so much. So yeah, we've got those coming up. Extreme Rules was on Sunday, but I'm going to recap that soon. Yeah, so that just about sums up this pretty boring, back to old school format show. I'll be looking to put some new features into the show soon, probably bring back the questions. If you haven't done already, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like me on Facebook. Keep the conversations going, guys, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next week.